guys, welcome back to the Bass Tutor. My name is Tyler Fry and I'm the Bass Tutor. So guys, I'm excited to bring you another beginner bassin series video, and this one is going to cover which baitcaster you need to buy for your first baitcaster. So buying your first baitcaster can be a really great experience and something that you remember for a very long time, or it can be a very bad experience and something that you just want to forget. But I'm here today to try to help you out and help you to figure out what you want to buy. So, the first thing that you need to focus on whenever you're buying a baitcaster is what budget you want to stay in. So there's tons of great options on the market, and down below in the description I'm going to leave a really detailed list of all the great combos and all the great rods and reels and stuff that I would personally pair up for each price range. Now obviously I'm not going to put all of them, there's going to be some that I forget, but I am going to go through and I'm going to take the time to do that. So if you would use them, it'd help me out if that's what you want to use. So, with that being said, is you need to figure out what price range you want to stay in. So, there are a lot of companies that make what's called a combo. And so what they'll do is they'll give you a reel and a rod for one certain price. Whenever you're first beginning, I would recommend highly looking into these. Typically, as you start getting more advanced, you're going to want to start pairing your reels with your own different rods. So, like me personally, not all of my rods and reels, but most of my rods and reels are loose reels and ALX rods. Now, that's just the companies that I've decided to go with, the ones that I enjoy the way they're set up and their feel is. But they pair up really nicely, and that's the equipment that I'm comfortable using. So eventually you're going to start figuring out what reels you like, what rods you like, what reels you don't like, what rods you don't like. So then you're able to kind of mix and match them. But when you're first beginning, a lot of the times you're going to be on kind of a budget, and that's when you're going to want to start picking out combos. And that's not to say that there's not a lot of great combos on the market, because there are some really good combos that I've used. And I have used quite a few of them. But, like I said, eventually you're going to want to start pairing your own stuff up if that's what you like to do. Or for your first setup, you can also do that. So that's really the main thing. Right around $100 is going to get you a super good combo, or $100 for a reel is going to be a really good reel and a really good rod. So you just kind of got to figure out, and there are plenty of great options in the under $100 category. My first combo that I ever purchased with my own money was an Abu Garcia Silver Max, and it was a combo. And I believe it was just under $75, somewhere through there. It's been a long time since I've bought one. But it was a pretty good rod and reel. The reel has lasted this long, pretty good. The rod, however, was not so lucky, but that was due to something I did, not because of the manufacturer. So, you know, you just kind of got to pick around and see what you like. Now, with that being said, what you also want to figure out is what kind of rod and what kind of reel you want as far as length and gear ratio goes. So if you don't know a lot about gear ratio, I made a video last week about gear ratios that I'm going to link down below, and you can go watch that video and learn more about gear ratios after all this is said and done, and then you'll be able to kind of pick out what gear ratio you want. But I may kind of glance over it a little bit just to help you out in this video as well if you don't want to go back and watch the full thing. But if you're newer to fishing, I would highly recommend going and checking that out. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find a combo that's going to suit a lot of purposes if you're just buying one rod and reel to start out in bait casting. So what I would recommend is I would recommend trying to get a rod that's like probably 6'10", which is a 6 foot 10 inch rod, to 7 foot, somewhere in that range. I would recommend going with a 7-footer that's a medium heavy fast action rod. Now what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to throw a multitude of different baits. Okay, that's going to allow you to throw your swim baits, jigs, crankbaits, anything you want fairly decently until you're able to start getting more rod-specific rods and reels. On that rod and reel, I would probably try to stick with a 3-to-1, 6-8-to-1, something like that gear ratio. You want to stay in the 6 series of reels whenever you're buying that, because that's going to be kind of your bread and butter. You'll be able to do just about anything with that reel, and you're not going to be at a major disadvantage. So with that being said, you kind of got to figure out what combo is going to suit you. Now most manufacturers will have a combo that is going to be in that specifications. They're going to have the reel paired up with the rod already, and they're kind of going to give you a little bit of information on what they would recommend that for. But when you're buying your own, something to look out for is your rod size and your rod action and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to have a video coming up soon about rod actions and stuff like that if you want to wait until that one comes out. But if you don't, just remember what it is it starts off, most rods in Baitcasters will be a medium to an extra heavy or extra heavy. So what that means is there's a medium, then there's a medium heavy, which most of your rods will be, then there's a heavy, and then there's an extra heavy and so on, extra heavy and stuff like that, which that stuff is more for your flipping stuff. What you're going to be interested in for your first setup is probably going to be the 7-foot medium heavy. That's going to be a not too stout rod. It's going to have a little bit of tip. That way you're able to drive the hook, but it's not going to be so limber that you're not able to drive the hook on something like a jig, something that has a thicker diameter hook. I hope I'm not confusing you guys, but just remember, you want to stay around a 7-foot medium heavy rod, and I'll try to clear all this up in an upcoming video. Now, like I said, in the reels, you want to stay in like the 6:3 or the 6:8 to 1 gear ratio, somewhere in there, and that'll help you out a ton. Now, what kind of line are you going to put on this new baitcaster you just got? Whenever you're first beginning bait casting and you're just learning how to do it, I would not recommend going and buying some super expensive line, something like your Seagars, your P-lines, stuff like that. That's going to be higher dollar stuff that you're going to want to get into once you've learned how to cast better. And whenever you're first beginning, I also wouldn't recommend starting with braid. Braid is going to be a super thin line, and it's going to be really hard to learn to cast a baitcaster with, and you're going to get super frustrated super quickly. So what I would recommend is starting off with a good monofilament line. Now what monofilament is it's a floating line. It's a little bit bigger diameter, but it's going to be super cheap compared to other lines such as Flurocarbon and Braid. So if I'm kind of confusing you, there's 3 main types of line: monofilament, Flurocarbon, and Braid. That's typically the ones that people most often use. So what I'll do down below is I'll link some different lines that you can buy that are going to be fairly cheap, and then I'll also link a video on how to spool up your brand new rod and reel. And that's going to help you guys a lot in the future. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you learned something about buying your first baitcaster. Down below in the description, I'm going to leave everything you need to know. I'm going to leave all the rods and reels that I recommend, all the lines and things like that to help you get started in buying your first baitcaster. Now, in the future, be looking out for a video on how to cast your baitcaster, as well as me explaining rods and their actions and all that good stuff. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you were able to learn something. And guys, I hope you're able to take that new rod and reel that you're going to buy and get out there and wet a line. Thank you guys for watching.
That's a good one. Nice. Ooh, got him in the tongue. Not bad for number 1.